What's going on, everyone? This is Know Your Sound here, man, and I am coming with you enough just to share some thoughts on, I had this situation, but how many of you feel that you're not qualified, right? Meaning that you're not good enough. Sometimes we can get to a place to where we can compare others that we see on social media, what we see on Instagram. You see all these bass players killing, and it's just like, what level am I at? And I really wanted to pose a question to you all and say, is there really a level to where you're not always growing? Meaning you're always looking to grow. You haven't got to a place to where you are where you know everything. And so for me, I am just basically, I'm kind of like where I'm in the season where I know where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the best, but I'm confident in what I know as far as my sound. And this is the reason why I have this channel, Know Your Sound, is because I want people to recognize, what their sound is. You don't have to mimic or be like anybody else. Just be who you are. And I also wanted to talk to you about a little bit of my journey. I was in the military for 16 years. I did 16 years in the United States Army. And during my journey in the Army, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about music. I went to, let me see how many countries I went to. Probably 5 countries. I was in Korea, South Korea for maybe 3 years. It wasn't all 3 years at one time. I was actually stationed there 3 times, right? Also, I had been married when I was in the Army. I had children when I was in the Army. So the challenges and situations and then also here's the greatest thing was I learned how to play the bass in the Army. And my journey really started was when I went to what we have in the military. They had this little restaurant/bar. They used to have these bands that used to come over and do the MWR tours, right? And so they had this band come over there, and the first time I heard this band, I saw the bass player. He was playing a 6-string Ibanez. I think it was a 605. It was an older one, y'all. This thing was nice, and this guy was killing. And so I didn't know it, not knowing anything about it. I went up to him when he was doing his break. I said, "Hey man, you sound amazing, and you sound amazing, man." And I was wondering, how'd you get started? He was like, "Here, hold it." I held that 6-string bass, y'all, and it started from there. I immediately started to look up, and back then, y'all, we didn't have YouTube, right? We didn't have YouTube when I started. So I'm not trying to tell you how old I am, but I'm up there a little bit. I'm not going to share that information. But I basically learned, I basically bought me a 4-string bass. It was a Korean. I don't remember. I think I still got pictures of it. I might put it in the video, y'all. Yeah, I do have a picture of my first 4-string bass, but I saved money for a month and a half, right? And I bought my first bass, which was an Ibanez. I think it was a 205. It was, I can't exactly remember, but it was the PJ setup, right? It was a 2-band PJ setup. 4-string was purple. Bought it. And I started to learn how to play. I taught myself how to play. And during that time, I had a little small amp that I was playing through, and it was like ghetto, y'all. It was ratchet. It was so ratchet to the point to where, like, I couldn't even plug it up in the front. I'm gonna see if I still have a picture of it, but I couldn't plug it up to the front because it was so bad, and it was given to me. And so this, and I'm gonna see if I have a picture of it, y'all. But you have to see this amp. It was so ratchet, for real, for real. Like, bro, it was like. But I started on this amp. It was a little Korean amp, and I started on it, and I started to learn how to play. And one of the songs, the first song I learned how to play was "Sweet Home Alabama." That was the first bass song I learned how to play. It wasn't gospel. That's crazy, right? I didn't start playing gospel. I started to learn how to "Sweet Home Alabama," and then I learned what's William Murphy's album, "Let It Rise." That was like the first gospel bass line I learned how to play. I did. And from there, my journey started. When I was in the Army, I was stationed in Killeen, Texas, and this is where I was first learning how to play. And this situation right here was crazy. So there was another bass player at the church I was playing at, and he was amazing. Matter of fact, before his father transitioned, I was like one of his last students to teach me how to play. And so he showed me some fundamentals that really helped me. And he had to deploy because he was in the military. And so the praise and worship leader didn't know that I could play as well as I did. I had been spending my time. And so it was my time for me to play. And ever since then, they started to put me up and play. And I was trained there. I learned a lot there in Killeen, Texas. And so from Killeen, Texas, I went to Virginia. I went back to Korea. Actually, I went back to Korea and then Virginia, kept playing. So during that time, my music, I started to learn music theory a little bit in Texas, which I really hated. I really hated music theory. It was like algebra to me, for real. So, but, you know, some of the things that I know now was because of music theory. So I'm grateful for that. But to make a long story short, my journey was, you know, it wasn't like everybody else that most I know that started on drums or anything else. No, I didn't start on drums. I started on the bass, and I've been continuing to play the bass, right? And so one other thing I would share with you all is that everybody's journey is different, right? But you have to know who you are. And from this journey of me, you know, I wanted to share this, is that it doesn't matter what instrument you pick up, right? It doesn't matter what instrument you pick up. If you know your sound, if you know how to play, if you know how to set your tone, it'll become you. And so, you know, because of God's grace and who He is, man, like, I wouldn't be here. And so I just wanted to share this thought here. Don't try to compare yourself to anybody else. Just be who you are. Just be exactly who you are. If you like to play a PJ setup, play a PJ setup. If you like an MTD, play MTDs. You know, don't let nobody discourage you from what you don't like. You know what I'm saying? Because that's you. You know, God put that into you. God gave you that intuition to really to like that instrument or to pick that instrument. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I'm saying is, don't be a copycat. You don't have to be a copycat. Is there other things that you can learn from other bass players? Absolutely. Can you always be learning on the bass? Absolutely. But never forget who you are, right? Don't let people deter you or take away from you who you really are. You know, you can learn from a lot of people, but just know who you are. You know what I'm saying?